G'day, legends, and welcome to the Celtic Down Under Podcast. I'm your host, Jared, and joining me tonight are very happy Liam and Sean. How you doing, Liam?
Aye, absolutely champion, mate. Just champion. Or I soon will be.
How are you, Sean?
Yeah, still buzzing from that game at the weekend. Good day. And just a quick note as well, it was if anyone in West Australia was watching the Dockers victory, which finished 2 minutes before the game kicked off at Ibrox. It was a double derby victory for anyone in purple
Nice.
and green.
Happy days, mate. Happy days, yeah. It's it was a full on Sunday. Glad the time changed over here. No more daylight savings to make it a bit better for us. But yeah, first of all, just want to thank everyone who's taken the time to tune into the Celtic Down Under podcast over the last month in particular. We've had our second best month ever in terms of downloads, and YouTube channel's growing. It's more than doubled in the last month. So appreciate each and every one of you. And if you're listening in and you haven't already subscribed, please do so. We'd really appreciate that. Now, we've got a bit of quite a bit of stuff to talk about here, but we'll start off with, as noticed, Liam, you're echoing, mate.
Am I? I didn't say anything.
No, Jared's hearing himself.
Lovely.
Oh, right.
Sound quality. Brilliant. Good fun. Anyway, so Glasgow Derby, where to start? That's the real question here. Now, there's so many talking points, and I'm going to throw to you, Sean.
Yeah.
I'll get your take on what your thought on the starting lineup was, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, I think we pretty much called it in last week's pod with the starting lineup. The only one that I got wrong was I said, well, when we thought Rogic was out, we didn't have him in the team, but that was the 11 that I would have wanted and the 11 that I expected, so I was pretty happy with that. And then, yeah, they came out and didn't really have a great start. Your man Juranovic has been great, was just... I don't know what his positioning was about for that goal that we conceded, and then Hatate didn't track, or whoever, Hatate or Rogic, McGregor, whoever was responsible for tracking that run from midfield didn't do that either, and it was just a bit. We looked like we could have been getting hammered in that first 5 minutes, and then we managed to get forward and score with our first attack, so that was pretty nice and really settled us. Well, didn't really settle us, but it certainly settled me. And then we kind of spent the first half like struggling to get out of defence, to be honest. Like the guys were, Sevco obviously had a good shape for stopping us doing our usual passing it out from the back, and yeah, but we managed to get, we still had the better balance of chances in the first half and across the game, and yeah, it was, delighted in the end, but I can say more about it, but I'll hear what you guys have to say first.
Yeah, I would say that it was it's actually kind of it was funny that they went ahead first, because as the old saying goes, it's the hope that kills them, And yeah, they really were so hyped up after the first 2 minutes, and then we just totally blew them out the water with that goal. And I don't think they recovered mentally from that, from going ahead and going back level so quickly. It just, it really didn't, I don't think they knew where to go from there. And it was good to see.
Well, we could have won by more in the end. We had those chances. Abada was unlucky, to be honest. Well, he fluffed the first one, but then he was unlucky with the second one. And then, Maeda's round the keeper twice, gets fouled in one, and McGregor makes a good save for the other, and we're just unlucky, really, that Rogic doesn't score a rebound. But it's good. We deserved to win on the balance of chances, even if you consider possession and shots from outside the box as balance of play, then we're second best on that. But balance of chances, we were easily deserved to win.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
it
would
was,
totally agree.
was definitely one of those games where, like, compare it to the last derby, and it was like we absolutely smacked them early, and this time it was all just grinding it out, and it's gritty and disgusting, just like Ibrox, to be honest with you. But yeah, we had we got the result, and yeah, it was good to hear it, good to see, good to hear our fans, 700 of them going absolutely mental at the the final whistle. But yeah, that starting lineup, we looked a little shell shocked early on. Couple of guys didn't seem switched on from the get go, but you gotta give guys the benefit of the doubt there in terms of not only did we get the win, we fought hard to come back. They hadn't lost at home in 24 months or whatever it was. I was saying something like that. We had a lot of guys who hadn't played at Ibrox, saw how feral it is and what it's all about, and it took that moment from Cal McGregor as the skipper to say, "You know what, boys? Not today. I'm gonna have a crack here. You get the ball and just the holding midfielder to push forward, run past, and make the play that led to Rogic's first goal. Our first goal, the one by Rogic, and yeah, it was just great leadership by Kelmac and that front for me. But yeah, well, I'm sure we're going to go through pretty much the whole team bit by bit, give them their individual shout outs in a couple of minutes because that's actually what the plan is. But
Yeah, I think just on your point there about experience, I think it was telling that the best players in the first half were McGregor and Rogic, who, apart from Taylor, would have been the only ones playing before this season.
yep, absolutely. That's what they were saying. There was only 4 guys who played in the game. I think it was, or 5 guys who'd played it at the stadium before in the derby, which was Rogic, McGregor, Taylor, and then Juranovic. I'm talking before this season.
Oh, before, yeah, right, okay.
Pichon was the other one, and David Turnbull.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not even sure if Ralston had or not previously.
I wouldn't have thought so.
I don't think so, to be honest with you.
No.
So, yeah, you got Scott Bain on the bench who had, but that doesn't count because the goalkeeper, like he's going to jump in for Joe Hart there. But, you know, their fans had a crack at getting rid of Joe Hart, which we'll discuss later on. But, yeah. So, any particular players you want to discuss, boys, or should I just work our way through the squad?
Up to you.
All right.
I could say about on all of them. So, yeah.
Yeah, same. So we'll start off with Joe Hart's performance. Like, we'll discuss the situation that happened with the bottle and everything at halftime. We'll discuss that later on. Okay, so purely on a performance perspective, for me, I thought his leadership was great. The way he kept the defense organized, especially under the pressure, the amount of the press they were putting on early on. I'm just like, just pump it, get it up the pitch. I was just like that. But I love the way that Hart stuck to the game plan from Ange. They played their passes, they got through it, and they ran out of legs. And yeah, it was just some great leadership back there. And to say he was booted from Tottenham because he's old, his body's not holding up, and he can't make a save to the left. Well, late in the game, he made a save to the left, and it was very important. What was your take on Joe Hart's performance, Sean?
Yeah, he looks like he's got slippers on at times. But yeah, the good thing is, like I said last week, we've not conceded a goal from outside the area all season. And you can see why. Do you know what I mean? Like that shot from Sakala was a really good effort. And most keepers don't save that. But all of these long-range shots, it's not just a case of whether he saves it or not. Like he's holding them. He's sticking the ball, you know? Like you feel confident. There's not going to be any rebounds. I don't remember any goals again when I was looking through them where a striker scored a rebound against us. So we're not conceding goals from rebounds, and we're not conceding goals from outside the box. And you could give a bit of credit to the midfield for the outside box, but rebounds is all down to the goalkeeper. And that was some quality delaying tactics at the start of the second half. When he came out with that broken bottle in his socks and chucked it all over the penalty box, really stopped them from coming out flying like they wanted to.
There was legit tweets on there saying that one of the coaching staff handed it to him on the way out and he planted it. Unbelievable. Yeah. Or should I say unbelievable.
Yeah.
So, Liam, what do you think of Joe Hart's performance?
I think that Joe Hart at the weekend there really just typified the way that he's been all season. Leadership, strength, experience. When called upon to do what he's got to do, he does it. He makes that one great save from Sakala. And the thing that I was talking to some other Celtic fans about this week. I said one of the things I really love about Celtic, just generally, is when you get a guy who was not raised a Celtic fan, probably isn't maybe that aware of what he's getting into when he comes here, but comes to Celtic, loves it, and just totally buys into everything we're about, and then we buy into him, and that is Joe Hart, and he deserves every bit of plaudits he's getting. He's a potential player of the year for me, honestly.
There's another one that's bought into it at right back as well. Juranovic, he's another one doing the same. He had a shaky start, but he got better as the game went on, and unbelievable ball in for Maeda, the one where he gets, was it the Rogic chance? I can't remember, but one of the balls he put in behind for Maeda was just unreal. So yeah, I think he did look a bit rattled in the first 5 minutes, but other than that, he was back to himself.
Yeah, I have to 100% agree with you on that. Look, first 5-10 minutes of the game, Juranovic didn't look like himself, but yeah, after that point, he worked his way into the game. His positioning was a lot better, and off we went. So yeah, I wasn't too fussed with it. The way they scored that first goal was right through his area, so I think he'll learn from that too. And if anything, that's the sort of thing that is going to help him out long term. Making the mistake, but then working, grinding it out, getting better, and having a great second half. That's the sort of thing we need for him, not just for now, but also for next year. When we win the league and win the Champions League, that's a good learning experience for him under that level of pressure with that sort of crowd on top of him. That's an immeasurable learning experience for him.
Yeah, I think he showed he learned from it almost immediately, because Kent done him for the first goal. No, it happens sometimes, right? He got done by what was actually a pretty good move by Rangers, and then, Aaron costs more per touch than Prince Andrew. Ramsey sticks it in the net, but what can you do, But then, don't shake your head at me. That was a good one. Come on. Anyway, the thing was, for me, he almost immediately learned from that. That he did not make a single mistake for me the rest of the entire game. He just came on to. One of two things can happen when you lose an early goal like that. Either your heads can go down and you end up getting a doing, like Rangers did when they came to us in February, or you learn, you get your head up, you learn from it and keep going, and you get right back at them, which is exactly what we did. And then a couple of minutes later, we're right back in it.
Yep, 100%. Now, what you've just said about dropping your head and everything like that, there's a guy who was absolutely copping it early in the season, maybe even earlier this month, if my memory's right, in Carl Starfelt. Now, I think that was his best game for Celtic by a long shot on the weekend. And if that's what he can do now, then that's his new base level. That's what he has to get to. I know sometimes it's going to be hard because we're going to have so much more ball than we had on the weekend. But if that's the way he plays, he can play, then that's what we expect from him now. Like, best performance from him I've seen this season. And there's one moment where Hart gets beaten, there's a shot coming in, and he comes in and clears off the line. That's not getting spoken about enough in the second half.
That was offside, but still.
Yeah, but the fact that he wasn't
there,
to
know that.
There was one where the one with the hand was offside or something. But anyway,
yeah,
the fact of the matter is that even if that wasn't called, at least he was there doing the job. Like, to me, that's what I want to see from him. Sean, we know you're a Starfelt fan, so over to you.
Yeah, I still think we need an upgrade at that position. At half-time, I said he's been awful from open play and great at set pieces, and I think that was, I don't think anyone can dispute that. Anyone that says he had a great game is just wiping out that he had a really poor first half, to be honest, particularly from open play, even though he was defending the corners well and the free kicks well. And then in the second half, we changed to a more compact shape, and he was just immense throughout. That just really suited him, that change of shape. So I'm still not convinced that he suits us in our style of play. But one thing that I do think that is his best characteristic, and maybe why everyone seems to love him now, is that he does have that absolute hunger, fight, and desire. And I don't question that at all. He definitely has that. And he seems to have, whether it's merited or not, he does have confidence at the moment. I went based on the second goal, which was a kind of, you could call it an assist from Starfelt. I just went back and checked. And in the last, since February, we've actually had 3 goals, 4 if you count that one, that have came from Starfelt getting on the end of things in the box and somebody else picking it up and putting it in the net. And they've all been important goals as well. Away to Livingston, he gets the header that Maeda puts in at the back post, so to go 1-0 up. Home to St Mirren, again, when we're struggling for an hour, 0-0, he wins the header that CCV volleys in, Carter Vickers volleys in, so again, similar to the one at the weekend. And then when we're 1-0 down to Dundee at home, he again wins the header that Giacomakis scores from to equalise at home to Dundee. So that's 4 goals since February that have came from him, just pure desire to get on the end of it in the box. So I'm giving him credit for that. I just don't think he's going to suit us in the long term. That's all. I don't want him out of the team. I want him staying in the team between now and the end of the season. We've certainly nothing better. But we just need to... Ange's certainly getting the best out of him, but he's still not going to be good enough in the long term, I don't think. And we need to calm down on this praise. Otherwise, he becomes a better player just from word of mouth than he actually is.
Liam?
I can see where you're coming from there, Sean, but I'm maybe going to slightly disagree with you, because I do think he's improved a lot for me. And I think that, is he or is he not good enough? I think there's a debate to be had there long term. Is he good enough for Celtic? Because I think he could still improve further. Now, the question is, he has come on as a player since he struck up this partnership with Carter Vickers. Now, the question, I think, is, to what degree is it Starfelt is improving, and to what degree is it Carter Vickers is improving him? Because it's going to be a big question of, come the end of the season, do we get to sign him permanently or not? Because I actually think now we're in a position where getting Carter Vickers signed up for me is more important than getting Jota signed up. Just personal opinion.
We've actually got a comment here from Felix that I wanted to share. Champions League, 40 million. Cameron Carter Vickers, 6 million. No brainer.
Spot on, Felix. Well said.
Sum it up better.
Mm-hmm. How much are we getting from the Sydney Cup?
11.5.
What more than Rangers?
There you go, 11.5 if what I've heard's right. So there you go. Carter Vickers and another equivalent player paid for right there.
Yeah.
So since we're talking about him, Cameron Carter Vickers.
What a play.
Man of the match for me.
Immense, yeah.
Yep.
Actually, would have given man of the match to Maeda, but I thought Carter Vickers was immense and he scored the winner, so can't argue with that. He's been doing that all season. He's just, nobody can name a mistake that he's made. Like, he just can't.
He paid for my dinner out with the wife on Sunday night with the money that I won betting on him to score. So thanks for that, mate.
Oh.
There you go. There's Liam's Punters Club, everyone. And it's his new segment. We're going to have to come up with a jingle for it and everything.
And now, if he's going to be playing in Champions League, that's surely the best chance he's got of getting in the USA team, not going down to Burnley. Do you know what I mean?
It's been linked with Leicester, Burnley, and with us. And the talk is that it's going to be 6 million up front. Add-ons could get up to 10 million. If that's what it is, go for it. Like it's worth it. There's no hesitation. Realistically, we look at it. if we can offload a few guys that we've got clogging up the wage bill, then get some money in as well. We're going to come out of this in a profit as well. So, which then opens up a few more spots to be strengthened, which gets me to you got anything else you want to say about Carter Vickers, or do we not need to because we all know how immense he was on the weekend?
Yeah, we're all on the same page here.
Okay.
I was just going to say one final thing about the transfer thing. If we go on to win the league and get Champions League group phase, then that is us guaranteed in the Champions League until November, until the World Cup.
It depends on Russia's appeal against UEFA ban and some other things, but yeah, it's like 99%.
Assuming we're into the group stage, right? That runs up until the end of November, so that will take us right up to the World Cup. And quite frankly, if there's a guy that plays 6 games in the Champions League and has anything like a good game, and America don't pick him, then frankly they're daft. There's no way he doesn't make the US squad if he stays with us and we're playing in the Champions League.
Who are their centre backs? Can you name one?
I honestly don't know. I'd need to look it up.
Does that Ream bloke still play, or is he about 90 now? Tim Ream was up there, centre back I can think of.
Wikipedia has DeAndre Yedlin, Walker Zimmerman, Anthony Robson, Shaq Moore, Miles Robinson, Aaron Long, George Bello, James Sands of Sevco. That's the defenders that are listed on there. And the only team
should be in.
Yeah, there's one that's at Fulham, one that's Arminia Bielefeld, one that's Boavista, but honestly, it's mostly just MLS players.
All right, so back to Celtic then. If we're talking about, like, if he's played 6 Champions League games, one guy I've openly said on this podcast that if we're going to make a fair income crack of it next year in the Champions League, it's a position we need to upgrade more than anything else, in my opinion. We need a European quality left back. However, Greg Taylor has not put a foot wrong for me in the last month or so. Like, impressed. He's gradually getting better and better. And apparently he's a quiet leader of that back line. The way he gets out there, does his job, in the locker room, he's a bit of a present talking it up. So I'm happy to say that Taylor played a very good game for me on the weekend. And it's just a pity he went down with cramp or whatever and had to come off. But it opened up Ralston to come on later on. So no big deal there. But I was pretty impressed with the way he played. What do you think, Sean?
I've always liked Taylor, but I've always also said he's limited in terms of where we want to be in the Champions League. And in terms of an attacking fullback, he's also limited for those games where we're trying to break teams down. One thing I would say is if Tony Ralston was left-footed, Greg Taylor wouldn't be getting a game.
Yep.
So if our backup right back is better theoretically than our first choice left back, then surely that suggests, even as much as whether we like him or not, surely there needs to be an upgrade there.
Yep.
Look, I'm not slagging the guy. He had a great game at the weekend, but apart from getting caught out of position once, but I just, again, same as Starfelt. Well done. You're playing well this season, but I think we need to aim higher next season.
I think there's always going to be a need at Celtic, though, for guys that you can reliably chuck in to an average Scottish Premier League game and know that they won't let you down. And for me, that is people like Taylor, it's people like Beaton. Question marks over whether they can really do it at the absolute top level, but at the domestic level they'll give 100%, won't let you down, and they'll do what they're asked to do. So, yeah, I mean, in the European context, I agree, we probably do need to strengthen that position, but at the same time, I don't have any great concern if you told me, Taylor has to play every game between now and the end of the season. I'd be okay with that. I trust the guy to do what needs to be done in the games ahead.
100% agree with you on that. He's our left back for the rest of the season, but long term, yeah, he'd be a good squad player, especially for in Europe. But I'm not going to lose any sleep over him. being in the squad. So what we'll do is we'll just quickly crack on to the midfield then. Cal McGregor, Ria Hatate, Tom Rogic. Now, I put a tweet out during the game. Tom Rogic is 17 feet. I think that summed him up. He always had so much time on the ball. It was unbelievable. Callum McGregor, we've spoken about him earlier, waxed lyrical about him. Captain, got the job done. He was very solid considering he's obviously restricted with his mask. Rio Hatate, I think he gave a bit of a shift. Looked overawed early on. But, yeah, for me, ran out of legs a bit there. And, yeah, I just wasn't overly impressed by his performance. Probably the only starter there that I wasn't massive on. We'll just crack through it like that. So, Sean, you want to go through your overview of the midfield?
Yeah, just quickly, McGregor and Rogic were the standouts in the first half because they've got the experience and the cool and the calm. Good goal from Rogic. Probably should have had a second or third even in the first half. And then, yeah, look, I was delighted that he started. He's got that physical presence and calm that really helps us, particularly in these games. As much, no matter what you think of Matt O'Reilly, he doesn't have that. Like, he's not as physical and cool, or no one is Tom Rogic. You know what I mean? McGregor as well, who just by force of will just got his back into the game. Like, oh, we're under the cosh here. I'm just going to just run forwards. He's done it before, McGregor. Been games in the past where we've been completely under the cosh and he's just ran up the pitch. Yeah, and Hatate, as you said, poor from the start. Then he kind of did his thing where he starts doing simple stuff, but honestly, he wasn't tracking runs. He wasn't like he was letting guys go by him. His passing was poor. Yeah, man, I think he needs a spell at the team, Hatate, to be honest. I'd be having Turnbull back in the team and Hatate having a bit of a supporting role for the next few games.
Just quickly on something you said there with McGregor pushing forward, and we touched on that earlier. It's a completely different type of leadership that he has to what Bruni used to do. Like, you look at it, he gets on the ball, Kelmac, and pushes forward and tries to make something happen and be that inspirational leader by, I expect you guys to do it, so this is what we're going to do. Let's get out there, let's stick to the game plan and make it happen. If that was Bruni, he would have just gone out there and clattered someone.
Mm-hmm.
Both work, both fire your teammates up, but, when you got a ref there like Willie Collum, who we'll talk on discuss a bit later, it's a different type of leadership, but it's good to see. Now, Liam, what was your take on the midfield?
Well, you just took the words right out of my mouth there, Jared. I was just going to say that particularly that first goal embodied how much of a leader McGregor is, but how different a type of leader he is to Scott Brown. I mean, I'm going to get a wee bit philosophical here, but we talk about I do kendo, which is like Japanese fencing, right? And they say there's two different ways to learn kendo. You learn through being taught, or you learn through doing. So, learn through being taught means basically your sensei says to you, right, do this, do this, do this, do this, right? Whereas learn through doing, it says, right, come here, bang, that's how you do it, right? McGregor is the second type. Scott Brown's more the first type. But they're both very effective ways of leadership. And I think both guys have shown that they can lead Celtic. And it's really, really good to see, because I was one of those guys at the start of the season. I was worried. I didn't think McGregor was shouting enough. I didn't think he was enough of a verbal presence to lead the team. But he's completely proven me wrong, and I'm delighted that he has. Rogic, just majestic again. Something which, in watching the highlights and watching sports scene and whatever, that wasn't picked up on was everyone was saying, oh, it's a mistake by Alan McGregor for Rogic's goal. I don't think he gets credit for just how calm that finish was. Because it wasn't a tap-in, and he didn't blast it. He consciously waited, looked at where the goalkeeper was, then stuck it in the other side of the goal. That takes class, that takes concentration, and it takes skill, and it showed all of them in abundance. Hatate, no his type of game, unfortunately. Just the way Hatate was there kind of reminded me of the way Lila Bada was in his first Glasgow derby back at the start of the season. Just wasn't quite up to the pace of it. I think the game was a bit too intense for him. But it's a learning experience, and hopefully he grows from it. And I agree that maybe a wee game or two on the subs bench might do him some good.
Yeah, with Hatate, it was like a deer in headlights early on.
Yeah.
And what you were saying about Rogic's goal, it's spot on, because what he's done is he's waited, seen McGregor move, and then as soon as McGregor has dove, he's stuck it straight where McGregor was standing.
Yeah.
So it was like he outthought the guy. It was like he was playing chess and McGregor was playing checkers there.
Aye, exactly.
Training day reference.
I had to. I was wondering if you'd pick that up.
Yeah.
Right.
And then
King
you got
Kong ain't got shit on me.
I'm glad you said that, because it was going to annoy me what film was that in, because I couldn't remember.
It's funny though, because it's training day reference, but then I've also been watching this doco on the Wu-Tang Clan, and one of them was massive chess guy, and they mentioned that a few times as well. So I'm like, oh yeah, there you go. But then you've got up front, Jota out right, wide right, Maeda wide left, Giakoumakis up in the middle. Now there were some stats, right? I'm just trying to find them. I screenshot them somewhere, but about the closing down and everything that the guys did.
I think it was 48 for Maeda pressures and 47 for Giakoumakis, if I remember correctly, in terms of pressures.
Yeah. But there was another one as well about, the guys who do the XG, like expected goals and all that sort of stuff, right?
Yeah.
There's expected sprints that he did for Maeda.
Oh, yeah.
Maeda has an expected sprint ratio of like 68 sprints a match. And he did like 200 and something for the game.
Yeah.
So that shows the level of work that those guys up front were doing. And yeah, it was just, there was a few times there. In particular, I'm going to get onto Giakoumakis here. There's a couple of times where I thought a centre-back was clearing the ball. And then I look, and it's Giakoumakis back there, halfway between the left-back and the centre-back. And I'm like, dude. And then you get him as a corner, and he's clearing quite a few there. He was just dominant at both ends, and he may not have had the chances going forward. He's getting absolute lumps kicked out of him, but it was winding him up. And he knew walking into Ibrox after the comments he made last time around, he was going to be public enemy number one. And sure enough, he copped the bumps, he got on with it, and I think our whole front line played absolute blinders in terms of they played two-way football. It wasn't all downhill skiing there where it's just, people only want to run hard forward, but when they got to get back on defence, I can't really be bothered. It was good to see. Throw to you, Sean. What was your take on the forward line?
Yeah, Jack was a particularly good outball in the second half. He was kind of coming deeper than we would have liked to be that outball, but we were under so much pressure in terms of the crosses coming into the box and bodies coming forward that, fair enough, Callum McGregor can make an interception on the 18-yard line and pull it out the air, but then he has to have somewhere to give it. And so if Giakoumakis is high up the pitch, that's going to be hard to do. So he was smart enough to come short and hold it up and give the ball off. So he was doing that in the second half, even though he wasn't particularly involved in the first half. But I thought Maeda's running was great, just the whole game. Like there was one at the end where somebody put the ball in behind and he just stopped. He's like, nah, man. I'd like to take that into the corner, but I'm just done. And then there's a picture of the two of them like collapsing at the end at the final whistle. I was like, yeah, I'm tired just watching them. Do you know what I mean? They were great. It would have been good for Maeda to get a goal, or Jack particularly. I thought he deserved one, but he did everything apart from that. Do you know what I mean? Giakoumakis as well. It doesn't, like we said before, it doesn't matter where the goals come from, and those two just, like, there's other games where you might have had Albion Ayeti or something up front and they would have contributed nothing because they weren't seeing, if they're not seeing the ball, he just doesn't do anything kind of thing, where they had the opposite. When they're not seeing the ball, they're still a constant presence.
Yeah.
Liam, before you start, I just want to quickly jump in on something.
Sure.
Maeda getting all sorts of props all over town, all over Twitter, all over Facebook groups, all that stuff, right? And the picture everyone is using, it's a picture of Maeda back in the day, and he's wearing the green and white. And it's, I think, was it the Matsumoto Yamaga, your local team? Did I remember it right? It's that top, and it's that picture. And everywhere I'm saying, I'm like, Liam knew this years before any of us even knew who this guy was. So over to you, Liam.
And I posted that picture on Sunday night to a Celtic group, and it got about 1,500 likes. So it's probably my picture that is being shared around. But I am not going to complain about that. Yeah, Maeda was man of the match for me. He was outstanding. Just did not stop. And I agree with what Sean said about Giakoumakis. He was up there as well. And that just speaks to the different type of performance that we're getting out of the forward line now. When was the last time that we watched a Celtic team and our two main forwards don't score, and yet we're saying that either of them could have been man of the match? You know, that's amazing for me to think that guys that don't even score a goal, but their contribution is so massive outside of that we're still thinking man of the match potential, you know?
Insane, isn't it?
And I think this Maeda's arrived now. This is it. I think everybody is finally getting it. They're getting what we have been saying for the last couple of months. Is like, it's not just about the goals. It's about what he does off the ball, what he forces defenders to do with his constant pressure. There's so much more to his game, and I think finally it's clicking with people, and they're starting to really appreciate it.
There's something else though, Liam. I want to go a little further on what you were saying there. But what Maeda's doing is he's making everyone's starting to realise it. And I said about Starfelt earlier, people are starting to realise and give him a bit more credit. And it's the same with Taylor, and it's the same. So I'm going to dig a little deeper on this. When was it that we had a team where there's like, we spoke about early on, like Ange's teams, and no dickhead policy sort of thing that Australian sports teams tend to have, right? I can't remember a time in my Celtic supporting life where I've just loved the club as much as I do now, and also having every player out there is just, they've got their lovable traits about them, and it's just like, they're all good guys, and you just want to see them do well. It's not like you got Ryan Christie out there pinging shots from everywhere, or you've got people wanting to move and having a sulk or whatever. Every single player there that's playing looks like they want to be there. They're there for the right reasons, and it's just making them more relatable. And I'm just loving it. Like, you got guys like Abada can come on, and I want to see him do well. I want to see Ralston do well when he's on. I want to see, if Welsh is fit and comes back in, I want to see him do well. You've got Rogic, you've got Turnbull, you've got O'Reilly, who we haven't even discussed yet. You've got all of these players who are there wanting to do well. And then you've got Kyogo still to come back. You've got Maeda, you've got Giakoumakis, I'm seeing him do well. You've got Jota, he looks like he wants to be there. It's unbelievable. It's fantastic. And long may it continue.
You know, there's two things I could add to that, right? One thing, talking about just the way that there are so many players now that we love to see playing for Celtic. Chatting to my dad after the game the other night, he actually said to me, "Who's your favourite Celtic player at the moment?" And I genuinely couldn't pick anyone out. I'm like, love Joe Hart, love the way he's bought into everything Celtic are about. And I used to be a goalkeeper myself, so I've got that wee bit of bias. Obviously, Maeda and Kyogo, Hatate, love to see the Japanese boys doing so well. You know, Juranovic is such a character. Carter Vickers and Starfelt are both just leading by example in the defence. Rogic is just being Rogic. You know, I mean, the whole team is just so bloody sensational right now. And I can't pick a favourite player. I've got about 4 or 5 of them that I'm absolutely in love with at the moment. It really is that. It's that good to watch. And then in the second half, when Beaton came on, I thought that's a massive turnaround from like a year ago, when after the who was it that put us out of Europe last season? The Danish, was it Midtjylland, wasn't it? Midtjylland.
Copenhagen.
No, I mean...
No, this season was Midtjylland.
Midtjylland, aye, right. And we were like, right, Beaton's got to go. He's done. It's not going to happen for him at Celtic. And, I would totally have agreed with that. And yet, the other night, about 65 minutes into the game, I said to my dad, this game's getting a bit rough. Time to bring on Beaton. We know he'll stabilise things. And I thought, oh my God, the guy that I wanted out the door 9 months ago, I'm now like, we need to bring him on now to stabilise things. That is just such a turnaround. And that's all down to Ange.
It's in the comments. Seamus has said it's exact. Yeah, that's all down to Big Ange, 100%.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, Beton strolled it when he came on. He was good.
Aye, he was excellent.
I reckon if it was the semi-final was tomorrow, you'd maybe bring him in instead of Hatate and have Callum McGregor further forward.
Yeah. Aye, possibly.
Yeah, I agree. So we've got the guys on the bench that we haven't really discussed there. So we had Bitton, Abada, Turnbull. O'Reilly came on and went off pretty quickly because he copped a sore one, and Ralston. Now, you're talking there, Liam, about Bitton coming in to stabilise things. I'm loving the fact how physical the game was. They had 1 yellow card and we had 4, and 2 of the guys who got them, Bitton and Ralston, who come in, 2 hard guys who were going to stabilise things. So that was good. Carter Vickers had one. Giakoumakis had one. Basically 4 guys there that, if they've got to foul someone, they're going to smack someone around. It was good to see, though.
I still don't understand that Carter Vickers yellow card. I don't get that one.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to throw to you, Sean. I was going to say.
Yeah.
Overall, Sean, what's your take on the referee's performance then? Off you go.
I thought he was okay. We should have had a penalty, but I don't think it was one that it was so obvious. I'm not going to kill him for it because it was a difficult one to judge, especially with the pace Maeda's at. He's probably, Willie Collins probably at the far side corner flag because Maeda's just so fast, he's not going to keep up. But yeah, I thought he did okay, yeah. I don't think anyone deserved a red card. I don't think any of the penalties that Sevco fans have been crying about were penalties. I thought one thing that he did that, again, I think was smart, but not something that referees do, was he actually manhandled a Sevco player at one point. Did you see that when, who was it? Somebody had cramp and Fashion Sakala was trying to give him out, give him shit for it. And he just, and Willie Collum actually bear hugged him and walked him away from it. Did you catch that? I didn't see any kind of build up.
The thing about that which got me was like, okay, so Sakala's got to the point where the referee has to come in and restrain him. How is that not a yellow card for Sakala? And
it's also against the rules for referees. Like, they're supposed to stand back and watch. Like, they're not.
Aye, I know.
That's what they're told to do.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, like, obviously Sakala was either. I mean, again, the camera at the time wasn't clear, like you say, so I didn't fully see the incident. I just kind of saw the aftermath of being dragged away. But I thought, if he's being like physically manhandled and dragged away, he's either just hit somebody or he's about to hit somebody. In either case, it's a yellow card.
Oh, he was definitely losing his shit, for sure.
Aye.
But you're right. Like, the only one that got a yellow was Lundstrom. I thought Ryan Jack could have at least a yellow. I think Seamus mentioned that in the comments there, saying he should have been sent off. I don't know if it was enough for sending off, but it was definitely at least a yellow card where he's kind of lying on top of him and he's pressed his face into the ground and all that. It was definitely poor conduct. But I think Giakoumakis maybe targeted him because of what he'd said off the pitch, which was interesting. But yeah, did you think it was a red? I don't know.
Well, I mean, to apply the letter of the law again, Jack puts his hand on Giakoumakis' face. Again, I couldn't really see clear whether it was a slap or like a push or if he stuck his finger in his nose or something. I don't know, but raising a hand to the face, that should be a red card.
It was more like his hand had come down on Giakoumakis' face and he was using his face to push himself up, which Do you remember it was a kind of Roy Keane style one where he thinks he can get away, do it on the fly, and he did get away with it, so he has done it on the fly.
Aye.
So,
Aye.
yeah,
Ultimately, though, it didn't impact the result. So we're
he's
okay
done
in
it
the end.
before. He's done it before, Ryan Jack. He's one to try and injure players. He's got previous with it in recent days.
Well, it's a bit like their fans, isn't it? If they keep doing something and get away with it, they'll keep doing it, and it'll keep building up.
Yeah. But yeah, I thought overall referee was, I mean, look, he didn't have an effect on the result. Put it that way. That's about the highest praise you're ever going to get from a Glasgow derby, isn't it?
Aye, in a game against the Huns where the referee has not done anything that's unduly hindered us, I'd call that him having a good game.
Yeah, exactly.
I sent you a picture after the game when we scored, and there's Willie Collum in the background having a big grin on his face. I've seen the Hun Twitter just absolutely melting down over that. It was unbelievable.
What was my response to that again? I'm sure Follow are putting together the spider diagram of how it all links to the Pope and everybody else as we speak.
And seeing hand and the old don't let him near the stadium anymore, all that sort of stuff. Yeah,
Jesus.
Great fun. But yeah, for me, it was like I didn't actually notice Colin that much. He's consistently making the same sort of mistakes at both ends. And let's just look at it this way. If that was Kevin Clancy, how many players would have been sent off? If that was John Beaton, people would have been sent off. At least you let the game flow.
Did you see the Kevin Clancy mistake at the weekend?
No, what happened?
Mate, the worst I've ever seen from any referee anywhere. Like, there's a low cross into the box, and the ball's going along the ground, and I can't remember, whoever Livingston were playing, don't remember who, St Johnstone, whatever, the guy goes, like, as if he's slipped or something, and then he just, two hands, just punches it away. Like, do you know what I mean? It's so obvious, like, it's so blatant, and then, like, just play on. Like, David Martindale he went absolutely nuts after the game. He's like, the flipping seagulls could see it was a penalty. But it was really, really bad. Like, really bad. You should check it out if you've not seen it.
Aye. Funny, I heard the David Martindale interview, but I haven't actually seen what he was talking about. So that makes sense now that you're explaining that.
Honestly, if it happened at Ibrox and the referee had missed it, George Square would be gone right now. Like, whatever set of fans, it would have been honestly riots, civil war.
Talking about that, since it's been established now that that it's okay to do this, right? When are we all going to George Square for a jobby, a piss up, and a wank?
We'll go and guard the statues and celebrate our superiority.
So, talking about George Square and Hunnish behaviour and all this sort of stuff, we've got a whole list of stuff that happened on the weekend. So, I'll throw it to you, Sean, to run through that section, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, I'll just run through it without commentary. They had fireworks outside the Celtic Hotel in the middle of the night, the soundproofed Celtic Hotel. Expanding foam on the Broomland Road turnstiles. Some media reported that as Celtic fans, but why Celtic fans would do it to the Celtic turnstiles, I don't know. To me, anyway, whatever. It was either them or us. Somebody did it. The Old Firm marketing. I was absolutely stunned when I seen that. And yeah, I'll let you guys comment on that in a minute. Giving out flags that said Old Firm, putting up a big archway for the teams to come out under that said Old Firm. They had a plane flying over the stadium saying go for 56 or whatever fictional number they want to go with. Throwing glass bottles, at least 3 reports. One that hit a physio on the head, one that smashed on the pitch, and the away fans said that one landed in their section as well. Various cups getting thrown, coins I didn't see, but not something you see easily on TV. There was an attempted pitch invasion after the Carter Vickers goal. If anyone's seen that one, the Celtic TV unique camera angle shows it. Some guy's it looks as if he's taking his belt off and about to come on the pitch and try and teach someone a lesson. And there's not a steward anywhere. It's a Sevco fan that stops him coming on the pitch. So fair play to that guy that stopped that idiot from coming on the pitch, whoever he is. Fair play. And then apparently on the evening, there was attacks on Celtic bars as well in around Glasgow. And that's probably not to even mention any domestic violence that was unreported. Is that about cover it?
So
Sorry, the selfies. I forgot to mention the selfies. The Sevco fan taking selfies with Andrew Postecoglou after the game.
And then also the thing of Ellie McCoy giving Ange a hug as well at Ibrox. That didn't go down well either.
Yeah. There's also one doing the rounds which I think needs to be shot down, right? I saw it on Twitter a few times. A photo of a guy and his wife in hospital with like cuts and bruises, alleging that they got jumped by the Green Brigade. It's actually someone has cut and pasted 2 photos of a completely unrelated couple who were in a car accident. So just be ready for that one when you see it. It's complete nonsense.
It was funny you said that, Liam, because I saw the original tweet about that, scrolled down 3 or 4, and then there's that tweet. And I'm like,
yeah.
So going through this stuff, right, as you said, Sean, the fireworks, whatever, that's just pathetic, right? Expanding foam. There's also people online saying that it's Hibs fans coming down for the day, and it's also Hearts fans. I don't know why they're getting dragged into it. It's a Glasgow derby, but, let's just point fingers wherever, deflect. So the fact that there's 3 clubs being openly blamed for it, I think the guilty part is the 4th option, which is the Sevco fans trying to stop the Celtic fans getting in the stadium. The best part of the cringe Old Firm marketing thing for me is they're handing out little flags or whatever to people as they're coming into the stadium. When you sent the picture of the signs in the stadium, I pissed myself laughing. I actually thought, is that their support? Is that the old, what's it called, the onion bears or whatever people call them? No, it was the actual signs, and I'm like, this is a pathetic, tacky thing.
Yeah.
But then that archway, Old Firm, that's the funny thing for me, because if they're talking up the Old Firm, this is what it is. Then the logo they put on either side, the 2 Rangers logos, are the Sevco current logo, not the Rangers logo from olden day when they were the Old Firm before they died.
Mm-hmm.
So what are they playing at here? Absolute pisser. And as an Australian, you can put Old Firm wherever you want in your stadium. You're still gonna get sued, and you're gonna be in courts over here too. Because of the Sydney thing. So jam your Old Firm shit up your ass, Rangers.
It's embarrassing, man. And the sign, the archway, there's a picture of it in the bin at the back of the stadium.
Behind the gates in the bin, sitting by the big garbage bin.
Because they can't fit it in, so they've just stuck it behind the bin.
I just think it's quite funny that they insist we are the Old Firm, and yet that you've got a team that's barely 10 years old, and it certainly didn't look very firm on Sunday, did it?
Do you know what it is? They're just trying to. They're going to go to court. They're going to go to court with these Sydney Cup people, and they want to be able to. They're saying that's their reason for pulling out, so they shouldn't have to pay money. Is because the organisers or whatever were refusing to use the Old Firm brand, and they'll be like, "Yeah, look, we use it all the time. See, never used it before."
Taking away the fact that the Huns died in 2012, right? The Old Firm branding is toxic, right? No, I get into a bit of an argument with popular Celtic writer Paul Larkin about this the other day, and total respect for Paul, excellent writer, speaks his mind. He and I had a frank exchange of views on this, right? Because I said, like it or not, internationally people do use the Old Firm when they talk about Celtic and Rangers, or Celtic and Sevco as it is now. And I said, look, and he's like, well, then they need to wake up. I says, well, who's going to fucking tell them? Marketers do what they do. It is what it is.
It's the same over here. I hate it. Absolutely hate it. I saw that back and forth you and Paul had. And I agree with you in the regard that who's going to force the guys over here to do it? Like, you get beIN Sports showing the game over here, and what they'll do is for 2 hours before it, they'll show old firm highlights. And there's older games, but then they put some of the ones when Brendan Rodgers was in charge. And I'm like, see, that the first one you showed with Paul McStay playing, that's old firm. This one with Brendan Rodgers in charge, that's not old firm. But people don't understand it over here. We do, they don't. So you just suck it up and get on with it.
I will also say that myself and many other Celtic fans stopped using the term well before Rangers died. So like 08, 09, we stopped using it because we wanted to remove the guilt by association.
I know that pretty much for me, the first time I really noticed that movement was, I think it was at 2008 when the Huns went to Manchester and tried to blame it on the Chelsea fans when they wrecked the city centre. That was the first time I'd heard like the right, stop using this old firm thing. But yeah, that's like I say, the old firm thing is out the window now. It doesn't apply anymore. We know it doesn't apply. Deep down, they know it doesn't apply, and that's what hurts them all the more. That's why they overcompensate with all this nonsense we saw at the weekend. Because deep down, they know it's true. They know that they're not the same club anymore. But rather than actually just admit it, the Huns are like, I mean, sorry to be political, but I compare it to people that fucking vote for Donald Trump, right? Because they will go to hell and high water before they will ever admit they're wrong. And it's the same with the Huns. They'll tell you black is white rather than say, do you know what, actually, yeah, you're right, we died. That's like, it's just complete denial now. And this is just, and what annoys me more is the way that the media just feed into it. And they allow it and they facilitate it. And then it leads to violence like we had at the weekend because these guys get all fired up and, as we say in Glasgow, all dressed up and know where to go, because their team gets pumped on the park, so what can they do? They start throwing balls.
And that's exactly what I was about to tie in what you were saying, Liam, in that you get that sort of behaviour, there's no recourse on it, and they suddenly think they can bring in the bottles. Like you saw that picture that you sent us, Liam, where it's just on the edge of the stadium, just bottle after bottle after bottle of Bucky, and they're not the small ones. The big bottles are getting in there as well. So it's like, what are the stewards doing? They're throwing cups. Apparently, our fans were getting cups thrown with the plastic cups full of piss thrown on them. There's Jota when he's trying to take a corner. You saw that quick one he took in the first half, I think it was. I think it was in the first half or it was second half, that's right. And he goes to the corner to take it, and he waves his hand to the ref like, what's going on? And you can actually see coins and shit being thrown at him. Lee Griffiths years ago had batteries thrown at him at Ibrox while doing the same thing. It's absolute scum behaviour. And then you got the broken glass bottle that, hit the physio, and then the one that Joe Hart found. As far as I'm concerned, people doing that, they're lower than a snake's belly. They're just absolute scumbags, and I don't want us linked to them by using that old firm moniker. At the end of the day, it's a perfect way to tie it all in. We don't want to be. We're not part of something, so deal with it.
Yeah.
I don't what you're saying about the stewards. I don't know if this is still the case, but a few years ago they transitioned from paying stewards to looking for match day volunteers. They're not joking. And I don't know if they're still doing that or not, but that was something that came out. And even if it is, if they are paying stewards now for the Sunday game there, it was probably half of them were like undercover Celtic fans just trying to get in, like that boy that got a job at the kiosk, then just hid in the toilet until kickoff. So, like, maybe give us some more tickets, and then our fans won't be taking pretend jobs to get into the stadium.
The thing for me as well is, if you're a steward and you're going through everyone's bag when there's a whole group of like active support or whatever coming in, and you're going through everyone's bag with a fine-tooth comb looking for these bottles, you're going to get someone's going to crack it. And the money you're earning, it's minimum wage sort of work. It's not worth the risk of getting 20, 30 guys beating the absolute shit out of you. So do you really think they're going to be that thorough, or just have a quick look? Okay, I can't see anything, even though you've got a jumper in the bottom of your bag there. It's clearly going to have some bottles wrapped in it or flares or whatever, but off you go. Off you go, mate. I don't want any trouble here.
I mean, I know for a fact that 10 years ago, the going rate at Ibrox was £15 a shift for stewards, right? Because I used to know some people who did it. It was the same at Celtic Park, £15 a shift. But so let's just say for inflation's sake, if it's double that now, right? It probably isn't. But let's just say for inflation's sake, if it is, are you really going to risk getting bottled for 30 quid? Because I wouldn't.
No,
You know,
no chance.
It's not. If you're not going to have proper security measures in place, I mean, like imagine a pub, for example, right? Let's just say that I've got a pub called the Hunnery, right? Okay, and it's full of people, and about maybe a quarter of them start throwing bottles and throwing coins at each other. The next day, my license would be taken off me, and that pub would be shut down.
Yeah,
Why
absolutely.
is nobody raising the question that if Ibrox cannot be a safe venue for people to go without having all kinds of shit thrown at them, it shouldn't be allowed to trade? It should be shut down.
Well, Paul Brannigan in the comments, Liam, has actually said something similar. If it happened in Europe, they'd have to play behind closed doors. Absolutely.
Well,
And that's something that needs to happen.
just to elaborate on that, sorry, I'm whittling on a bit here, and feel free to tell me to shut up at any time. But
Shut
I
it,
am-
you dick.
oh, fine then.
No, go on, Tim.
I found
Well,
an advert from last year, sorry, Liam, that's
Go on.
advertising Celtic stewards is £9.20 an hour.
Right. Okay. Well, then they've put the rates up. Then good on them. And I would assume then that Rangers pay the same because it was always the same people that did the two shifts. So, but anyway, back on topic. There was a case in Japan, a test case of this about 5 or 6 years ago. A team called Urawa Reds, who now nothing like what happened at Ibrox at the weekend. Right? It was literally the other team had one Korean player playing for them. And Japan and Korea don't like each other. Right? That's a historical thing. They were waving the Japanese naval flag, the offensive flag, like the red sun with the streaks coming out of it, right? And they held up a banner that said Japanese only. So clearly having a go at this Korean guy, right? And they were shouting some anti-Korean slogans. Within 2 or 3 days, the JFA shut their stadium, fined them the pound equivalent of several million quid, and they had to play, I think it was 3 or 4 games behind closed doors, which cost them about the same again in lost revenue. And you know what? They haven't done it since. And those fans were rooted out and they were banned for life. Now,
Well, Neil Doncaster said this week that strict liability can't work, so that's not going to happen.
the thing is, that's not even strict liability. That's just a set of rules that the league established from day one. Like, if you do this, this, or this, there will be these penalties.
Well, if you're punishing a club for fans' behaviour, that's technically what strict liability is.
Right,
Yeah,
right. Sorry,
Yeah,
I see what you mean.
cases similar to that, Liam, over here, where there was like Western Sydney Wanderers and Melbourne Victory, the active support were letting off flares constantly. So basically, the clubs were both fined and were told and suspended 3-point, what's called deductions put on them if it happened again in the rest of the season. And suddenly, you had fans start policing each other. And then on top of that, there was a number put up, which we called the snitch line, because it was like to report antisocial behaviour, text this number. And you're like, who's going to actually contact the snitch line? But sure enough, there was the older fans who weren't near the active support who would do it. Bit by bit by bit, people would get a 1 or 2 game ban here and there, and they'd settle down when they come back. So it can work, but it's a I don't want to say it's too far gone in that supporter base, because there are a lot of good Rangers fans out there, not Huns. Like as you said, Liam, there are good Rangers fans who love their football club as much as we love ours and don't want to be tarnished by this. But at the end of the day, it's hard on them, because I think they're the silent minority, actually. I think it's more the majority, because there was footage shared of this podcast thing that he put up on his Twitter, and he's absolutely, or not Twitter, TikTok, and he's outed himself. And some page shared it earlier saying that anyone who thinks Police Scotland that the singing and that goes on in the stadium is a small minority, have a look at this, and there's a video of them singing the Billy Boys, and you can see the side where our guys were, the whole stand opposite that, both sides of them, and the opposite thing, they'll all go and hands wave like this at our guys while seeing what they're up to their knees in at us. And it's like, I don't care how much you try. If you brought in that snitch line thing that we're talking about, it's not going to work there because it's that ingrained that, I don't know.
Also, you're talking about a large element of that group are, well, for what of it were fascists. And what fascists do is they will very quickly turn on anybody who they suspect is not completely following the party line.
Yep.
So if I've seen dozens of times good Rangers fans have tried to call out the bad ones, and they've been doxxed online. They've had their addresses detailed, they've had their windows put in, they've had death threats. You're dealing with a fascist hate mob. And unfortunately, if you don't put down a fascist hate mob, they just grow and they grow. And I think it's now grown to a point where even if Rangers wanted to control it, they can't. It's a monster that's now grown bigger than they can control.
Yep, have to agree with you.
I think the only way to get him to stop singing that song, you can't use the stick. Do you know what I mean? You have to. The only way you could do it is if you got the players to stop playing if they were singing it, and it couldn't just be the Celtic players because that's just going to make them sing louder. You'd have to have the Sevco players in agreement that whenever Sevco fans sing that song, that everyone's just going to stop playing.
And while they're releasing orange away kits, that's never going to happen because they're actively playing into it.
Exactly.
They're playing at a blue pound. That's what it is. Yeah. They're relying on it with how many share issues and stuff they do. It's at the end of the day, the sooner they go bankrupt and die a second time, better off Scottish football is going to be. But it is what it is. So what we'll do is we'll leave that there. We'll jump on to the current league table. So currently now, we've got this weekend's game against St Johnstone coming up, and then the splits happening. So that's why I wanted to discuss the league table. So on top, 6 points clear, with a goal difference of plus 16 goals, is Celtic. So that's basically equivalent of a 7-point lead because unless they're going to win a game 17-0, they're not going to close off that goal difference.
Not even a Scottish referee could give that many penalties in one game.
Kevin Clancy, that's about it.
Well,
so then you've got Rangers in second, Hearts in third, right? So realistically, those three are guaranteed to be top six split. Then in fourth, you've got Dundee United on 40 points. Fifth is Motherwell with 39. Sixth is Hibs with 38 points. Then seventh is Ross County and Livingston in eighth with 37 points. Then ninth and 10th is Aberdeen and St Mirren, both on 36 points. St Johnstone on 30, and bottom of the league is Dundee on 24. So realistically, you've got 3 teams guaranteed for the top 6, 2 teams guaranteed for the bottom 6 in St Johnstone and Dundee. All the other clubs are playing for their spot post split. So it's wide open. Yeah. What are you boys thinking off that? Who do you think we're going to see ending up in top 6? I'll go to you first, Liam.
You know what? I'm not actually sure. I mean,
funny thing is they're all playing each other as well. So
that's the thing. We'll have a much clearer picture of this. After the next round of games, that's obvious. But yeah, I would like to see. Obviously, I'd like to see Celtic avoid having to go to places like Tannadice or Tynecastle or Pittodrie, but chances are I'm going to have to go to one of those. But at the end of the day, from a Celtic point of view, we are probably 2 or 3 wins away from winning the league now. So let's just get those done as soon as possible, and it doesn't matter who we play.
What's going to happen is Dundee United will get at least a draw, and that will secure them. Motherwell, who are playing Livingston, will get at least a draw, and that will secure them because of who they're playing. Hibs and Six are the ones that are in danger because they're playing Hearts. So there's a good chance they lose to Hearts. Or even if they draw at Tynecastle, then an Aberdeen win will take Aberdeen above them. So Aberdeen are playing Ross County. So basically, if Aberdeen or Ross County win and Hibs don't, then Hibs go out and whoever wins that goes in.
Right.
That's the way it's going to play out. So Dundee United and Motherwell, I think, are both good for it. And then it's Aberdeen. Aberdeen, the winner of Aberdeen or Ross County, I think, unless they draw, in which case it's Hibs. That's the way I see it. And either way, no matter what, we're going to have 3 home games and 2 away games. Away games TBC, but the home games will be Sevco and Hearts, and Dundee United's going to be an away game. I think Motherwell would then be an away game, which means we'd have Aberdeen maybe at home. It doesn't, as you say, it doesn't matter. What matters more than anything is this weekend, the St Johnstone game. Because St Johnstone are on a good run just now, they've stopped conceding goals. They're actually chasing St Mirren. They're now looking 6 points away from St Mirren. They've got a chance to get up. They've won their last 2. I'd say it's a dangerous game, to be honest, because when teams are fighting for their lives, that's always dangerous. And they've shown in the past that they can do it. I think they got a draw at Celtic Park last year. So if we don't win this game this weekend, if we do win this game, I think it's more psychological than it is mathematical, the game this weekend. Because if we win and Sevco are playing, even if Sevco win on Sunday, which they probably will, because St Mirren are in shit form. If we go 9 points clear, that's just psychological. We've been 9 points clear, or there's a point where we're 9 points clear of you guys, and there's 5 games left. Do you know what I mean? That's just a psychological blow. If we lose,
Sean,
or draw,
Let's jump in here quickly. After 20 league games, we were 6 points behind them, and now after 32, we're 6 ahead. After 33, we could be 9 ahead, and they've still got to play on the Sunday. So you can see how the pressure is building and building, building. For me, the worst thing that I would want is win the derby, be flat as attack, and then lose this game. We've got to get these 3 points and then just kick down the game after game after game until there's not enough games left for them to close the gap there, and then it's ours. But back to what you're saying, Sean.
Yeah, look, if you remove the context, last week's game is bigger than the St Johnstone game, but in context, this game is bigger. It's the one that's more important for the league right now. So like I said, 9 points, huge psychologically, but if we lose, for example, and then they win on Sunday, then they go into the split just 3 points behind with a game against us to play. In their head, they've already got that game won, and then they're just, at that point, they're just we just need to keep winning. Do you know what I mean? If we lose this game at this weekend, that is way back open. We have to win this game. Even a draw is dangerous.
See, I don't want to be arrogant here or to be presumptuous, but based on how they've been in the last couple of months and how we've been, remember, they don't just need to beat us in this final game that we're going to play them at Celtic Park. Basically, in the next 5 games, they need to win 2 more games than we do. Is that going to happen? Really?
Well, if we lose this weekend, then that's what I'm saying. You're presuming this weekend's result already.
Well, but I don't know. I think that I think it's a done deal now. I thought as long as we didn't lose on Sunday, I was confident that we're going to win the league. I would have bitten your hand off for a draw, to be honest, and the fact that we beat them just came as a bit of a surprise to me, actually, because I thought they might steal it, because I thought they were due a performance against us.
Look, at some point we're going to lose. Let's not make it this weekend. Do you know, I think apart from, was it Brendan Rodgers with 69 games unbeaten, something like that, domestically? I think we're on, what are we on, 30, 31?
30-something, yeah.
Yeah, and I think before, Walter Smith got 32 in a row. So that's where round about joint for the longest unbeaten run domestically. Something like that anyway. We're round about tied for, or just above or below, second longest unbeaten domestic run.
Sean, Seamus in the comments put this one in for you. Andrew Dallas is the ref for Saturday's game. We need to be up for it.
Oh dear.
So
doubt,
let's just
yeah.
say now the next game is the most important of the season until we've won it. So
Yep.
that being the case, we must win against St. Johnstone. What are you thinking, Liam? Score prediction?
I'm thinking 3-0. 3-0.
Sean?
No, I'm saying we win 2-1. But I think what I need is we need Maeda to come out the team. He needs a break after the weekend there, and Hatate needs to come out for related but dissimilar reasons. Turnbull in, Kyogo in. That's what I think.
The only change I'd be making would be because if Kyogo's wasn't the one I'd be putting in, I'd be taking Maeda out, Jota back to the left, putting a Barter in on the right. That's a change I'd be doing, and then I'd be taking Hatate out and probably put Bitton in, to be honest with you, instead of
Yeah, fair enough.
Turnbull.
Yeah,
That's
fair.
what I'd be doing. We keep the back line and the goalkeeper situation the same, and then off we go.
I just fancy
And-
a Turnbull set piece or long ranger, you know.
And I'm saying 3-1 is the win for us. Now, what do we got? What time's that over here?
Ooh.
Oh, it's a midnight game. Lovely. Happy days.
10 p.m. for me, not too bad. But we'll get some Sunday afternoon games coming up, I reckon.
So what we'll do is just everyone who's got involved, tuned in, got in the comments, thanks, appreciate all of that. If you haven't already done so, we touched on it earlier, please subscribe to the Celtic Down Under podcast via your podcast app. If you're watching this on YouTube, please hit the like button for this episode. Subscribe, hit the notification bell so when we go live, you get notified. And if you're on Facebook, you can join our Facebook group, Celtic Down Under, or our Facebook page. You can like that. Twitter and Instagram, you can find us at Celtic Down. Just thanks heaps, everyone, for last month yet again. It was the best month we've had so far of this podcast. So just want to keep it growing. And we'll go through our final thoughts. So, Sean, I'll throw to you.
How do you make an apple crumble?
You drop it.
Kick it in the balls.
My final thought is these stories come out of America and the media over here about Ange being linked with like Man City, how they love him and all that sort of stuff. Piss off, he's ours. He's our boy. You guys, no one wanted him over here in Europe. So, no, he's ours. And just here to do a job, build a program. That's how he always does. So long may it continue. And Liam, what's your final thought?
There's been a lot of with the fallout for the game this weekend, even the build up to it, a lot of anger and a lot of hate from mostly from Sevco fans, but from some of ours as well. And I would just ask everybody who's listening to this, whatever team you support. I know most of the people listening here are going to be Celtic fans, but there's the occasional Sevconian that likes to hate listen to us. Although not so much since we started winning again. But I would just ask you, always try and stay in a position where your love of your own team is stronger than your hate of any other team. Because if you're in a position where your hatred for the opposition outweighs your love of your own team, it's no good place to be. So don't put yourself there. Just love football and love your team. And the opposition will do what they do. That's up to them, not up to us.
Absolutely. And with that, hail, everyone.
Hail, hail.
Jobby?